Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank y'all for following along. We've almost got to the 100 subscriber mark on the Mustard Seed Adventures, and I want to say thank you for that. Go back and look at some of the other videos that I've put up. I would love to hear what y'all think about it, because I love doing these videos, because I like looking stuff up in the Bible and trying to get other people's thoughts on it, because as Christians, I feel like that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be reading, talking, and discussing this. But with all the videos I've done talking about the rapture, there's been a lot of verses that I've run across that, even though I grew up in church, I had never really heard them or took them into context or anything like that. And I just wanted to give y'all a few of those things and a few thoughts for this evening. I wanted to get in Joel 3:12. Listen to this. Let the nations be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the surrounding nations. Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is full, the vats overflowing, for the wickedness is great. Multitudes and multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Now, how interesting is that? You know, you got full references of judgment, harvest, and a decision. Sort of sounds like something we could relate to today. And then I like over in Zechariah 10, ask the Lord for rain in the time of the latter rain. Now, that stuck with me, and then I got to reading on, and I found something else in James that's interesting. James 5:7, therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and the latter rain. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I have a study Bible, and I like to look in the notes. And in the notes in the study Bible, in the study Bible, it talks about in Palestine there is an early rain and a latter rain. The early rain is for planting. The latter rain is for the harvest. Then it goes on and it talks about how in Deuteronomy 11, it is used as a representation for the harvest of souls. And I just thought that was very interesting, you know, talking about rain, harvesting of soul. And now you get over here into Deuteronomy 11. I want to pick up at 13. Now, Moses is telling, basically the first part of it is he's reminding them what all God's done for them. And then up to 13, and it shall be that if you earnestly obey my commandments, which I command you today, to love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart, with all your soul, then I will give you the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your grain, your new wine, and your new oil. I think it's interesting because just a few verses later, when you go and look at the mark of the beast, it's going to be in your hand and your forehead. A little while later in Deuteronomy 11:18, therefore you shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and bind them as a sign on your hand, and it shall be as frontlets between your eyes. See how all these things in the Old Testament are, you know, they're coming together. So now we know that Deuteronomy 11 talks about the harvest of the soul. We know there is, before I get to there, it goes on in Deuteronomy 11:26, and he goes, behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way which I command you, and go after other gods which you have not known. Now, the words that he was talking about was the 10 Commandments. Do not have any gods before him. Do not make any Engraven images. Do not use the Lord's name in vain. Keep the Sabbath holy. Honor your mother and father. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not lie. And do not covet. That's what he's talking about. And it was interesting to me that it come across the decisions, and the multitudes in the valley of decision. That just struck me with that. And then you go back to James, and he talks about the first spiritual rain was actually in Acts 2 on the day of Pentecost. And it was interesting when I read it, because when the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all in one accord in one place, and suddenly there came a loud sound from heaven, as of a rush of a mighty wind, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then there appeared to them divided tongues as of fire, and one sat upon each of them, and they were filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. Now you had these Jews from all over the Roman Empire in Jerusalem for the Passover, and all of these guys are from all different parts of the empire, and they're going, wow, I can hear them in my language of where I'm from. And then they started, then the Cretians, Arabs, we hear them speaking in our own tongues the wonderful works of God. So they were all amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, what could this mean? Others mocking said, they're full of new wine. But Peter, standing up with the 11, raised his voice and said to them, men of Judea and all who dwell in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and take heed to my words, for these men are not drunk, as you suppose, since it's only the third hour of the day. But this is what was spoken of by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh. So your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your young men shall see vision, your old men shall dream dreams, and my maidservants and on my manservants and on my maidservants I will pour out my Spirit in those days, and they shall prophesy. I will show wonders in heaven above and signs in the earth beneath, blood, fire, vapor, smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. So, back to Zechariah 10, pray for rain in the time of the latter rain. If you're thinking, like I'm thinking, we are getting ready for the rapture and all this is fixing to take place, it's time to start praying for the Holy Spirit. Zechariah told you that. And here's the thing, is every time I start talking about the rapture, I get brought back over to John 14. Let your hearts not be troubled. You believe in God, believe in me also. For my Father's house has many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you so. I go and prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that wherever I am, there you may be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. Now, I've used that verse a lot when trying to explain the rapture, because that's one of the main ones that hangs on. But when we were talking about the Spirit being the rain and the Holy Spirit, pray for the rain in the time of the latter rain. If we're in the time of the last times, you should be praying for the Holy Spirit. Listen to this. This is one of those things in John 14, if you go on a little further, 12. And he's telling them, if you don't believe that I'm telling you, when Jesus is telling them there's Son of Man, he goes, just believe the works and the wonders you see. He goes, most assuredly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also. And greater works than these he will do, because I go to my Father, and whatever you ask in my name, I will do, that the Father will be glorified in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. Then you go over to Matthew 7:7. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be answered. Then you go up to Matthew 16:17. And when Jesus was asking them who people were saying he was, and then he asked the disciples who they thought he was, and Simon Peter answered, said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." That was his answer. This is Jesus' response. Jesus answered him and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Barjona, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." So he's already telling you whatever you ask him in his name, he'll do. He's telling you all the way through to ask for the Holy Spirit. I thought that was interesting. He's told you that if you believe in him, the things he does, you will do, and even greater things will come. And then it's interesting to me, right before he ascends into heaven, and he's talking to him, he tells them this, Mark 16:15, and he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned." So this is the choice in multitudes in the valley of decision. You found what the decision was. What you gonna have to decide. I can't decide it for you. Nobody can decide it for you. You got to do it yourself. "And these signs will follow those who believe in me. In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. They will take up serpents. If they drink anything deadly, it will by no means hurt them. And they will lay hands on the sick and they will recover." So, yeah, and then I just got to say this one more time. I've seen people talking about these Satan shoes, and the verse they use is Luke 10:18, and I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. I really wish they would have finished that thought out, because 19 and 20 says it all. "Behold, I give you the authority to trample over serpents, scorpions, and all the power of the enemy, and nothing by any means shall hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice at this, but that the spirits are subject to you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven." Get what I'm saying? You need to be praying for the Holy Spirit, because these times are perilous. Go read, and I think it's Timothy, where he's talking about perilous times, how people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, slanderers, liars, all that. But with this video, I just wanted to finish up with these verses, because I just love them after what we were talking about. In Joel 2:23, "Be glad then, you children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he has given you the former rain faithfully, and he will cause the rain to come down for you, the former and the latter rain in the first month." Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the first month. Did you know that? And then you go over to Hosea 6. "Let us know, let us pursue the knowledge of the Lord. His going forth is established as the morning, and he will come to us like the rain, like the latter and the former rain on the earth." Then he goes on, and this is the big thing. This is what you have to keep in mind right now, because Jesus told us, because of the increase of lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold. People's heart will grow cold. And this is what God said about it in Hosea 6:6. "For I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offering." Ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all are liking these videos. If you do, give me a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, Mustard Seed Adventures, and you can check out the website, Rants at the Looney Bin. Talk to you guys later. I hope y'all enjoy it and get something out of it.